Hello, Cadenza here, coming at you live from the editing room. It turns out I did in fact split this episode into two parts. I just needed some kind of intro to put here. We now return to your regularly scheduled visual novel narration video. I hope you enjoy.
Yo! You guys been having fun?
I glance over at Jenna, the Finnick curled up into herself on the other side of the couch. She's cradling a throw pillow against her chest. With a small grunt, I manage to move my limbs without too much trouble. No sleep paralysis this time, thankfully. Jenna's eyes flutter open. She blinks at her surroundings, then me, then the sound coming from the entrance hall. Ugh. She rubs her face, trying to shake off the sleep fatigue.
What'd you say?
There's some clattering noises from the kitchen coming from, like the rustling of plastic bags and the clacking of Tupperware.
I asked if you fuckers have been having fun. It's midday.
Flynn, you got our texts. We were up late last night searching for Carl.
Yeah, and making yourself at home here. What you got on over there? Hentai?
I check the TV. It's frozen on a guide menu screen grab of a frantic anime girl holding way more bowls of soup than is ordinarily considered reasonable. I grab the remote and turn it off. Jenna yawns into her paw, setting the pillow down beside her and idly fixing her slightly smooshed head fur. Her expression and general demeanor is visibly distracted, but not by Flynn or by me. Though she does manage a quick smile in my direction when she does focus her gaze my way. I return the smile, albeit lopsidedly. Half my face still feels tingling and asleep.
So we're dead fucking certain the Duke doesn't know shit then. God damn it.
I hear the heavy footfalls of the Gila leave the kitchen, making his way around to us. He's holding 4 small plastic containers. He gives 2 to each of us, setting them down on the coffee table. The insides are fogged up from condensation or steam, so I can't tell exactly what they contain. It looks green, I guess? Flynn sees me gawking and lets out an exasperated puff of air through his flared nostrils.
The top container's got Caesar salad. The bottom's got fresh cooked bluegill.
Bluegill? I blink at the steamy container. You catch that yourself?
Yeah?
He perks a brow ridge. And you cooked it just for us? The line of question seems to give the Gila pause, as if he needs to make sure he phrases his next words carefully. Jenna smirks in my direction before blowing her nose into a tissue.
Usually I drop some off for Carl.
He folds his arms over his chest.
You know, to make sure he doesn't go into a full-on diabetic coma. His arteries packed up with pizza and energy drinks.
That's very thoughtful of you, Flynn.
Yeah. Thanks, man. I give him a thumbs up, to which he just shakes his head.
Whatever. Any word from the sheriff's office?
Jenna reaches into her shorts and grabs her phone. She taps at it for a few moments before shaking her head.
Nothing since yesterday. The person I spoke with at the office said they would reach out to me with any questions or updates they had.
God, fucking useless. They're so goddamn overstaffed there anyway. How hard can it be to find one fat-ass rich kid in the middle of vast fucking nowhere?
Apparently rather difficult.
Just waiting for Carl's parents to post for reward money or some shit.
I don't think public entities get to claim those sorts of things.
Flynn scowls at Jenna for a good 4 seconds before turning away, walking to the grand living room window and peering out of the backyard.
Well, yeah, I fucking know that. It just don't make a lick of sense. No food, cars, or cell phones missing, nothing valuable stolen, and no break-in indications. Besides the scuff marks you made on the way in.
Flynn, if I hadn't gone in through the window, Leo would have eventually shoulder-rammed the front door down.
Flynn folds his arms behind the back of his head, clenching his eyes shut.
Yeah. God, what a fucking crazy ass. At least his desperate party attempt helped us figure out Carl was missing earlier.
Jenna pushes herself to her feet, walking over to beside Flynn. She folds her arms over her chest.
So, we briefly skimmed over this yesterday. But with regards to Carl's mental state leading up to all this...
Flynn ever so slightly shifts his head in the Finnick's direction, their size difference stark as they stand silhouetted in front of the window.
Is there anything you can think of that would help us out here?
Anything to cause Carl to say fuck it and run out into the desert without any belongings, you mean?
Yes.
Jenna answers flatly.
He's been depressed as hell, but that's how he's been since he dropped out of college. All that digital art shit he used to do, he hasn't done much of that either lately. Whenever I check my phone or computer, he's always online, just sending me memes and shit all day. Despite my efforts, there ain't been much in the line of indication he'd been planning on changing that routine anytime soon.
I'm sorry to hear that.
She sounds genuine to that regard, letting out a quiet sigh.
Ain't nothing you can do about it from fancy college land.
I finally get my ass off the couch, silently hoping that I hadn't left the surface all oily.
I think he's been getting high more. Says it chills him out, helps with the nightmares and shit.
Nightmares? Flynn nods.
Yeah, he's been going off on how his house is haunted. Says things get weird whenever he goes to bed.
Weird how? Flynn is starting to look increasingly exasperated at my continued prodding. Yet evident he wants to shift focus back to the search effort.
Fuck, Chase, I don't know. Bumps in the night, creepy children whispers, distant laughing, that sort of thing. Said I only heard them when he was about to fall asleep or was waking up, so he can never investigate.
Interesting.
Really?
You said that getting high was how he coped with this newfound paranoia?
I let him sleep over once and my whole room smelled like skunk weed for a fucking week.
He slept over because he was afraid to be here? In this house?
No, he stayed over because I was plowing his ass.
His tone is laden with sarcasm, and I even find myself snickering a bit at the shock. Jenna doesn't laugh though, meeting Flynn's gaze with an indiscernible expression. The Gila clears his throat, scratching at his stomach.
Yeah, he was afraid to be here.
I know enough about Carl's family to know that his house is seriously old. His great-great something or another is the town founder, after all. The place has since been seriously modernized into a more stucco adobe style, but there's some definite history underneath all this. Growing up, Carl started thinking there were ghosts in the house. It freaked him out pretty badly. So much so, his parents basically begged me to have sleepovers with him during the weekends, and even some weekdays. Not that I minded, of course. Carl had all the video game consoles that were out, and his parents bought him M-rated games. I got to stay up late with his giant TV, blowing up aliens and running over hookers. I remember he started to become less afraid as time went on, and his parents stopped asking for me to come over as much. So, of course, shitbag younger me told Carl a bunch of stories about a ghost bride whom I said I saw standing outside his house at midnight. And that's how I got to spend my whole 5th grade summer vacation living at Carl's place. The fact that Carl is still freaked out about this sort of thing is pretty concerning.
Well, to be quite fair, if I held the mindset that my house was haunted, and saw whatever that was on the phone out my window...
She pauses, shaking her head.
I'd probably be rather freaked out as well.
Yeah, but would you run outside? That doesn't make any sense. You'd think this place would be more ransacked if this was like a fucking kidnapping or something. You don't try and kidnap a fucking ram without getting some serious dents and scratches in the drywall.
The idea of Carl being assaulted like this is starting to give me a serious pit in the bottom of my stomach.
Well, you did find some scattered plaster dust and marks on the wall near the basement crawl space.
Yeah, maybe there could have been like an initial scuffle down there and then he was held at like gunpoint or something? There's a look of sudden shock at the direness of my words that flashes across Flynn's face. Anxiety, fear, concern, all expressions seldom seen on the lizard. He quickly stifles them, adopting his usual disgruntled demeanor, emitting forth a familiar grunt in response.
Guys, I think we're escalating here. No offense to you, Chase, but I think I might want to have a chat with Jeremy myself. You can come along, of course. Same to you, Flynn.
Despite Jenna's assurance of non-offense, I can't help but feel a little shitty about not pressing harder for information while I was there. I mean, fuck, I want to be a journalist, right? I can't be getting intimidated by childhood bullies. Flynn nods, but only slightly.
Yeah, but Chase said he told him the drugs he sold weren't laced.
Laced drugs wouldn't result in that image on the phone.
Shit, I haven't talked to that flunk ass in so fucking long.
You were always a bit too old to get the brunt of his sadistic side when we were growing up.
Thought that was mainly Clint.
They all rubbed off on each other easily enough.
Flynn pulls out his phone, a rather dated, first-gen looking thing from the late 2000s. He pecks at it with his large fingers, walking off toward the foyer.
Gonna text TJ and Pinball Smasher that we're together and asking around.
No need to be more specific than that.
Trust me, wasn't about to tell him where we're heading till we're done.
Poor TJ. I'll make sure to text him to make sure he's alright.
We start to head out as well when he suddenly calls out back to us.
Oh, and bring your goddamn lunch. It took me for fucking ever to put that together.
Are you nervous? I ask, trying to break the silence. Flynn takes his eyes off the road long enough to peer back at me through the rearview mirror, then glances over at Jenna. She's riding shotgun, cradling her fishy Tupperware in her lap so it doesn't spill.
I already told you I wouldn't mind seeing Jeremy again.
Well, what about you, Flynn?
Why are you asking me? They weren't my bullies.
I'm not sure if that's exactly true. I have distinct memories of the Tetanus Alley crew calling him all sorts of slurs back in the day. Hell, they started a rumor he was some kind of sadomasochistic gay rapist. Said rumors somehow wormed its way out of Echo to our high school. I remember there was this whole thing where he got called into the counselor's office about it. He proceeded to call the counselor a wretched gashed cunt and got a 1-week suspension. I wasn't ever clear if any of that shit stuck. He certainly never cried about it like TJ did.
Sounds more like you're the one with the issues.
I frown. I'm gonna spill bluegill all over your seats.
You'll be scrubbing the upholstery with my foot up your ass if you even open the goddamn lid on my truck.
Chase already spoke with them. You said you only saw Jeremy, Heather, and Micah, correct?
Jenna looks back at me and I nod.
Micah? Heard he was back in town a while ago. Never expected he'd turn up again after, what, 7 years?
Have you gone by to say hello?
There's a hint of teasing in her voice, responding to the Gila's latent disdain for the kid that's evident in his tone.
He stole my fucking dirt bike.
He stole your fucking dirt bike 8 years ago.
Well, he was still kind of a shithead when I visited yesterday.
Yeah?
I see the back of Flynn's scaly head cant curiously.
What'd he do?
Well, he didn't do anything to me, I guess. Just seemed like he hated my guts. I mean, I'm an adult now, so I shrugged most of it off.
Still, he shouldn't be treating you like that. We all are adults now.
Yeah. Why can't he just drop $75,000 on a college degree that teaches you saying slurs is bad like a normal person?
Jenny gives Flynn some side-eye. Are you going to ask for your dirt bike back? I ask, half joking, half trying to break the tension.
I did get it back, remember? Little shit dented the fuck out of it and put his weird punk band stickers all over the body, but I got it. Literally had to go to his house and talk with his parents to get it back. Should have pressed charges.
Which house was that again?
It was the yellow stucco one at the end of Jasmine. One of the older buildings they constructed during World War II. His and mine were the only houses down there that weren't RVs or mobile homes. I believe it was condemned and demolished a couple years ago, right, Flynn?
Flynn nods, turning off onto a dirt road.
Oh yeah. The roof was caving in, the electrical was a fucking hazard, and the pipes were lead-based.
Lead-based? I thought that was banned before then.
Major cities did. Technically, it wasn't in the building code until the 80s.
Jenna frowns to herself.
Let's just focus on the missing ram, alright?
We drive some in silence for a while, until we see some smoke rising up from behind one of the old trailers.
The hell's going on?
Flynn pulls over. The distinct, smoky smell of burnt mesquite pods wafts through the air. It's actually kind of pleasant. Flynn takes out his cell phone, stepping out of the truck and hustling his way over to the source of the smoke. Jenna and I exchange a quick look before following in his wake. The aroma grows stronger as we round the abandoned trailer and make our way to an outcropping overlooking the rest of the area. There's even a slight apple-like smell mixed in. As we round the bend, I can see a few lawn chairs spread about a crackling bonfire. Some of the chairs have faded princess print designs, while the others are of the more traditional camping variety. Next to them is a fluorescent orange cooler and a portable grill-looking thing that kind of looks like a toaster oven.
Don't think they got a permit for this.
Oh, hi!
The high-pitched voice comes from behind, and next thing we know there's a feline bounding up toward us. I see Jenna recoil some, the Finnick lingering a bit behind the rest of us. Flynn, meanwhile, looks stone-faced, his hands in his pockets. Hello? I was here the other day, but we have some more questions about Carl, if that's alright.
You were?
She stares at me for a long moment. Too long, actually. Flynn audibly sighs.
Oh, I know you. You're Leo's boyfriend, right? Ex-boyfriend.
Jenna chimes in, but seems to visibly regret it as Heather's attention swivels to her.
Oh my god! Jasmine, hi!
She rushes over to Jenna, wrapping her arms around her in a tight hug.
You look really good! Thanks.
Jenna doesn't correct her on the name change for some reason. Instead, she very gingerly pats Heather on the back before withdrawing back a foot.
I didn't shower this morning, so it's a wonder if true. Neither did I.
Astonishing. Where's Jeremy at?
Oh, hi, Flynn.
Heather waves at him, despite the Gila being literally only a couple feet away. Flynn furrows his brow some and limply waves his hand once before stuffing it back into his pocket.
Jer? Oh, I made a joke a while ago and he got really offended and walked off. It was so dumb.
Where'd he walk off to?
I don't know. Oh, let me get you guys a drink. We're having an ahoa party.
Before anyone can say anything else, she turns heel and scampers off, her demeanor like an excited child. Once we're alone, I broach the obvious question. What's an ahoa party? Jenna looks over at me and shrugs. Meanwhile, Flynn squints at the land around him, folding his arms over his chest and mumbling to himself.
Whose property is this? I thought she lived with her dad. The one that works at the dam?
The lizard sucks in his tongue and quickly shakes his head, his question evidently rhetorical.
She does seem different, doesn't she? I wasn't expecting the compliments after, well, how she treated me before.
Next thing we know, the feline is returning with 3 beers clutched to her chest.
Hurry, hurry, hurry! Take them! They're really cold and getting my shirt wet!
I blink and quickly step up to take one, kind of awkwardly slinging it from between her forearm and her cleavage. I'm not particularly hankering for a beer right now, admittedly, but I didn't exactly want to leave her hanging. After a moment of hesitation, Flynn and Jenna also take a beer.
You guys can have a seat around the bonfire, too!
I glance over to the bonfire. It's pretty small, only about 2 or 3 feet high. Why anyone would want to hang out near a bonfire during a 90-degree springtime heat wave is beyond me.
Some of the chairs are kind of small, though, since they're for little girls. They're not very good for big boys.
She looks up to Flynn, who stands nearly 1.5 feet taller than her. The phrasing is so strange, and her smiling gaze lingers way too long.
What? I'm fine standing.
Flynn shifts uncomfortably. She does know he's gay, right?
Yeah, I recognize them. Those are mine.
She points to the princess chairs, specifically one with the print of a female cat in a blue dress and tiara, surrounded by chirping woodland birds.
Or were. Oh, wow! Do you want them back? No. Why not?
Jenna stares blankly at her.
Look, Heather, when was the last time you saw Carl?
Oh,
She scratches herself, looking off to the side.
I don't know. You should wait for Jer. He'd have an answer for you. In fact, I'll go look for him for you.
Flynn steps up, his brow ridge furrowed.
It's a simple goddamn question that I'm asking you, specific-like. When was the last time you saw Carl?
Heather reels back as Flynn's tone grows more stern, the cat clutching at her own arms.
I don't know.
You know who Carl is. You blew him in high school.
What? No, that was Tanya. Carl's gross.
As I recall, Heather briefly dated TJ, not Carl. It was a weird coupling, with her being a couple years older, though I guess I have no room to speak there. She was kind of mean to everyone, so it wasn't surprising that they split. Ended up dating one of Leo's friends on the football team, if I remember right.
Fucking whatever.
Flynn weighs off the correction. I remember taking an investigative journalism course freshman year that discussed interviewing techniques used by the police department. It included this big comprehensive list of tells for when someone is lying or obfuscating the truth. The way Heather's acting fits the description of a lot of the aforementioned. Wait, Heather, you're like best friends with Jeremy. Heather still looks like she's about to bolt, but responds regardless.
He's cool, but what is that?
And he sells pot around here? Jenna looks over at me, seemingly curious about where I'm going with this.
Do you, need a plug? Because I don't get involved with any of that. I don't know anything.
I quickly shake my head. No. Like, you're around him when he does that sort of thing. Were you there when he sold to Carl last? She shifts her posture some, the cat scratching behind her ear as her whiskers bristle. She cuts herself off, trying to think of the right words.
They don't want me talking about this sort of thing with other people. Especially you guys, since you all hate us. I'm supposed to say that I don't know anything, but I do. I'm not stupid.
Her voice is raised now, and she's clenching her fists against her stomach, and I'm getting a drink. Hydration's important. Yeah, I get that, you know? It's totally cool. You're a fucking brainiac for sure.
Shut up!
She screeches at Flynn, the Gila covering his ear holes with a wince.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Just ignore him, okay? He just wants to find our friend. We're really worried. Her dilated pupils flick back and forth between the two of us. There's another long silence.
Like Keith?
That name again. It sounds familiar. I look to Flynn and Jenna to see if it's ringing any bells with them. I'm not getting anything from Flynn, but Jenna frowns some.
Hopefully not like Keith. That's why we're here now.
Heather's shifting gaze meets Jenna's, holding there for a moment before refocusing to me.
I was eating apple smoked jerky with Jair when Carl texted me that he needed some stuff. He did the deal, but nothing special happened, I don't think.
So nothing out of the ordinary? Heather thinks in silence for a while. Flynn, meanwhile, bites the cap off his beer and takes a swig.
Clint and Micah came by later and kept being really weird and pushy. Well, Clint was? Micah just stole my jerky, but that's kind of how he usually is.
Pushy how? About Carl?
I think so.
Wait, really? Flynn stops mid-drink, looking on in anticipation following her statement.
Yeah. It was, about the money stuff, which I don't pay any attention to. I don't really use money that much anymore. I'm, aesthetic.
Okay. But do you remember anything specific?
I think so. I was calling Micah out for the jerky thing, but he just kept ignoring me. Clint kept talking over me, and when I got mad at him, he just started whispering to Micah. It was super rude, so I really remember it well. It's actually been, really hard to remember things lately.
Oh. That's about all I can think of to respond with. As I look over, I can see Jenna tapping away at her phone, typing something. She peers up only for a moment, just long enough to give me a soft smile and a nod. She must be writing all this down. Flynn, meanwhile, is putting in an active effort to keep his mouth shut. He's waiting on me expectantly to continue. Before I can follow up, Heather starts speaking again, this time to Jenna.
I don't really remember, why we didn't get along. Because the name Jasmine pops in my head and it's all, ooh, that bitch. But I just saw you now and it all just seems so silly, doesn't it?
Jenna doesn't even seem to react to Heather at first. She shuts off the screen on her phone and exhales, looking Heather in the eye. She doesn't speak immediately, and there's this sort of latent tension in the air.
Yeah. It is a bit silly now. We're all very much grown-ups here. And I appreciate the hospitality. You know, actually, we've got some spare cooked bluegill in the car.
Spare?
Flynn grunts.
Flynn caught and cooked it himself.
Flynn looks slightly less disgruntled after being credited, though it's clear he'd really intended the food to be for us.
Oh, bluegill is good. I really like walleye, though.
I just caught bluegill. Got some bass at home, but didn't bring it. Also, walleye ain't really in season.
That sucks. Cool you kind of cooked it, though. That's really rustic. I usually just get something from the gas station.
You're welcome.
As for issues with remembering things, I'm not quite licensed to be issuing diagnoses. But I did briefly volunteer at a memory center up in Peyton. I actually think I have a card here still in the bottom of my purse.
Jenna digs through her handbag for a moment before withdrawing a faded little card. Heather takes it, peering it over with some visible trepidation at the clinical text and brain imagery imprinted on it.
If you can get a ride up there on a weekday, they generally can take walk-ins. The clerk there is a super nice horse guy named Jessup. He can help you get set up with Medicaid to pay for it if you're not already covered. Oh, that's super neat. Thank you. It would be really cool if they could, like, let me pick and choose which memories I get to keep, though.
Jenna smiles, a flickering sense of melancholy behind her turquoise eyes.
It would be nice, wouldn't it? Of course, the challenges and traumas we overcome shape who we are today. Oh yeah, totally. So, double bummer if you're not exactly happy with who you are today, right, Jazz?
She lets out a sad-sounding giggle. Out of the corner of my eye, I see Flynn blink some, then peer offward awkwardly. He spits on the ground, the faint smell of his venom wafting in the breeze for a moment. I'm guessing he bit that cap too hard. Jenna opens her mouth to respond, but she pauses. Her ear flicks some and she folds her arms over her chest.
Yeah, double bummer. Let me go get that bluegill. I'll be right back. Oh, okay.
Jenna heads back toward the truck and we're left standing awkwardly with Heather.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna go get the others real quick, so... Bye!
Before we can say anything further, she takes off again. In the distance, I can see her start running, her arms flailing with a palsy-like limpness at her sides. I can't help but feel a sort of queasy sensation at the sight. This is what this place does to people. Jenna returns with the Tupperware, letting out a long sigh as she sees Heather in the distance.
Props to you for not just smacking the shit out of her. That was, weirdly cordial, considering.
Oh no, part of me wanted to. Trust me.
That would have made things harder for this whole questioning business, for sure.
Well, there was that. And I suppose I was thinking about what you told me when we were walking earlier, Chase.
Flynn raises a brow ridge, waiting for her to explain. She does not. I get the feeling you guys have a more intense history than I thought.
I try not to talk about it too much back in the day. Back then, she was rude to me, even when I'd done nothing wrong to her. I figured she was just insecure and left it at that. Then one night, she came to me with no one else to turn to. Tears in her eyes. She claimed she had some pretty serious problems going on at home and wanted to tell me about it. From that point forward, I was ready to defend her, to help in any way I could. Short of going to police, of course, because she begged me not to. It started out as little things, the favors. She was too emotionally distressed to do her homework, so I did it. She couldn't come to class because of a panic attack, and the teacher wouldn't understand, so I lied for her. She needed money to see a friend in Peyton, so I gave her what little money I had. This went on for some time, until eventually enough was enough. I had my own problems, especially at home, and I just couldn't juggle the well-being of everyone. That's not my responsibility. I told her up front that I was going through a tough time and couldn't do those favors anymore, but I was always available to talk. That wasn't good enough, of course. Despite being busy with her fractured home life and the stresses of school, she still found time to create this elaborate revenge on the one person who cared enough to help. Next thing I know, her latest boyfriend of the week and his friends are pounding on my front door at 10 p.m. And what does he tell Mom and Dad when they open the door?
She deepens her voice, putting on a Dubro accent.
Yo, I'm looking for Jasmine. She told us to meet out here to get some. So not only did they convince my idiotic parents that I was fucking 5 guys, including her boyfriend, she told the whole school. I had my paw smashed in with a locker, was fired from my part-time job, and lost almost all my friends outside of you guys.
Jenna gestures to the both of us.
She made herself the sufferer in that narrative, the one who had mistakenly trusted the weird, horny enemy girl.
Jenna takes in a sharp breath from her nostrils, her composure otherwise completely solid.
And she didn't even have the dignity to atone for her actions when the chance was standing right in front of her. She continues to lie and manipulate her way through every social interaction to make herself feel better. It's the perpetuation of this endless cycle of perceiving herself as this sort of eternal victim, when in reality it's complete delusion that hurts her and everyone around her.
With the way Jenna rattles off point after point regarding Heather's transgressions, it's evident this is something she's thought about greatly. Maybe even rehearsed. I can't believe you never told me any of this.
When I was hanging out with you guys, that whole drama was the last thing I wanted to think about. You know, it was actually Leo who kept prodding me that something was wrong and insisted he help. I suppose he meant well enough.
Down the hill a ways, the dusty shape of two figures can be seen emerging from an old shed. One of them pauses as he sees Heather sprinting off down the road, while the other ignores her and carries on. Eventually, though, the both of them see us and begin making their way in our direction.
Welp, here comes the gang.
I sidestep over to Jenna, lowering my voice some. But, are you okay? Jenna seems slightly surprised at the question, giving me a light smile.
Maybe one day she'll realize what she did, even if it's not today. So to put it simply, I'm good, Chase. Thank you for the concern.
After what she just expressed, that's a bit of an oversimplification, but I'm not going to press the issue. She probably really wanted that catharsis.
So what? Did you come back with your posse to intimidate us or whatever?
Jeremy's dull eyes are focused on me. I'm starting to feel increasingly intrusive, standing next to their bonfire with their beer. This is definitely the sort of shit that would get me smacked down as a kid.
Is he here?
The smaller bat whispers to Jeremy, seeming to be walking directly behind him as if trying to stay out of sight.
No, man.
Micah lets out a relieved sigh, and after a moment, the familiar white fuzzy form of him emerges from behind the rotund Finnick. He's clutching something, though. A long piece of rebar. At first, I think he's holding it as a sort of self-defense weapon, but then I notice the hot, white ash coated on the end. I guess that's a makeshift poker for the bonfire.
Hello, Jeremy.
Hey, sis. Man, I'd ask how you've been, but I'm assuming good, right?
Generally speaking, yes. Where's Heather?
Oh, she said she has to go do something real quick. I think she'll be back?
Well, like I said, I'm well enough. However, we are still looking for Carl, as Chase here made you aware yesterday.
Jeremy looks over at me with a tepid expression, the faint outlines of a grimace forming at the edge of his muzzle.
Really? Really?
Flynn steps up, the Gila tall enough that his shadow falls directly upon the smaller Finnick.
Whoa, Rockabilly, I didn't see you much out here. I fucking wonder why.
Micah glares at him from across the bonfire, the shifty-looking bat increasingly agitated by her presence.
We told Schizo all we knew yesterday. Evidently not. And yeah, don't call him that?
Jeremy lets out an amused noise, though it's clear he's also getting a bit tense, especially with Flynn's looming form.
Heather was saying y'all were talking about Carl after the drop, all secretive-like. Shortly after, he fucking disappears. You tit-dirts want to extrapolate on that?
Jeremy lets out an astonished puff of air, turning to peer past Jenna and me.
Wow, dude, you really did fucking go crying to your friends for help.
I feel a knot starting to form in my stomach, and I resist the urge to clench my fists. I'm just trying to find Carl. He's your friend too, right?
Fuck no. Rich tits don't got any love around these parts. Didn't even think the guy had friends anymore after you two left.
He points to Jenna and I. Flynn scowls but says nothing.
Yo, does Mommy Mayor know you're here?
Mike is looking up at Flynn now.
'Cause I won't be harassed, bitch.
Flynn actually laughs, exasperated beyond measure.
Kid, you shut your mouth before I call your parents.
I'm nearly 21 now. You can't do shit.
Wow. He's that old?
Yeah, I can call the sheriff on you for trespassing and an unpermitted burning during fire season, and they charge you as an adult.
Then why is your faggot ass here instead of them, bitch?
Jenna rubs her temple with both paws.
Okay, let's put a stop to that. We apologize for intruding on your Ahoa party, but we wouldn't be here if this wasn't serious. This ain't serious to me. Seems like a big joke seeing you clowns back together. Micah, enough.
Her tone is so stern and maternal that it visibly catches the bat off guard. He seems surprised that she even remembers his name.
Look, let's just have a seat, alright?
Alright, sis. Whatever you say.
Micah blinks at Jeremy's response, then grumbles quietly.
Yeah, whatever.
The bat looks over his shoulder before moving to one of the camping chairs and taking a seat. Jeremy does as well. Both seem to make a conscious effort not to sit in the princess ones. Flynn takes another swig from his beer and joins them. I hesitate a bit, but Jenna beckons me forward. As I sit, the singeing burn from the fire mixes with the glaring heat of the sun above, and it feels kind of like I'm slowly being cooked. It's incredibly uncomfortable, but I seem to be the only person bothered. Well, by the heat, that is. We got empanadas in the mini oven.
Is that an offer?
It's a threat,
What?
dumbass. Boys.
Micah shifts in his seat. He keeps looking to Jeremy, as if wondering why he's even humoring this. He miserably pokes at the bonfire with his rebar, sparks clinging forth and dissipating in the desert dust. Jeremy, meanwhile, scoots his chair over and peers inside the little toaster oven-looking thing. It's hooked up by what looks like a 50-foot extension cord that goes into the shattered window of the nearby trailer. Yeah, they probably need a little bit more time cooking anyway.
Now, about Carl.
About Carl. Yeah, didn't want to tell you, you know? He gesticulates toward me. He's been, like, really depressed as of late. I mean, anyone would get that impression if they talked to him a little. I think, like, once you're so rich you have everything you want and don't need to work, it fucks with you. Life alone ain't good enough, man. Now, if you know what's good for you, this stays between us. Cool? He looks from Jenna to Flynn, and then finally to me. Micah is staring hard at Jeremy, the runty bat's lips thinned over his little fangs. Sure?
Yeah, whatever.
I suppose it depends.
Flynn sighs loudly, placing his face in his hands. We didn't do nothing to Carl direct, like. He just kept telling me he wanted to feel something, you know? Didn't care what it was. Didn't care what it did to him. I kept telling him, like, nah man, you're too soft for this, but he wasn't having it. So, I gave him, like, a sample bag. I thought you told me you didn't give him anything else. I said I didn't give him anything laced. There's a difference, yo. Plus, I figured you would have found his tweaking fat ass by now.
A sample bag of what?
Flynn practically growls. Speed.
You gave Carl meth. Carl asked for fucking meth? That's horseshit.
I don't know what to tell you, man. You must not know him as well as you think. Carl and meth? It doesn't make any sense. Carl got really into the enlightened drug use thing in high school, but he was never on board with stuff that hard. Flynn is fuming in his seat, and even Jenna looks perplexed.
Jeremy, where are you getting meth? Yo, that's enough questions.
Yeah, like, out of respect to your situation and stuff, I thought you should know. But we ain't got anything more than that.
God damn it.
Flynn's face is pulled into a silent snarl, eyes clenched shut. Jenna's just frowning to herself, her phone in her lap. No one says anything for a while. I have a million questions, but I don't think they'd answer any of them. For some reason, the first thing out of my mouth is, what's an Ahoa party? Jeremy and Micah both look at me with quizzical expressions. Something that Keith came up with.
Yeah, means like happy and a Satan or something? Well, not exactly happy. Something more profound than that, I'm sure. And everything had a fucking deeper meaning with him, didn't it?
Jeremy lets out a mirthless snark, the Fennec grabbing a few paper towels before taking the empanadas out and setting them on a small tray. Yeah, but who's Keith?
How the shit do you not remember Keith?
Micah looks downright offended. He sounds familiar, I just can't put a face to the name. Well, you're in luck, Muskman. I'm not sure what he means until I see him move to pick up something sitting in one of the half-folded up camping chairs. It's a picture frame with a bunch of different pieces of handwriting on the back. To my surprise, he walks over and hands it to me. In the frame, there's a pretty unelaborate picture of a stoned-looking fox guy. He's in a ratty lifeguard bucket hat and wearing an oversized hoodie with a stylized-looking eye on it. I feel like I've seen him before, but only in passing. You bring this with you everywhere? Just to the bonfires. Kind of like a super old tradition we picked up after what happened. I know it's like super culty creepy and shit, but Keith would have thought it was neat. He was all about that whole moral support Big Brother vibe. What happened to him? The question's blunt, And this seems like one hell of a sensitive topic for these guys. But now I'm genuinely curious. He went missing. One day he's here, slinging dope and playing foosball with us at that moldy shack he ran a bar out of, and the next... gone. Nobody knew where he went? Nope. Next thing we knew, Micah poofed as well. The bat looks guilty, squirming in his seat. We didn't expect you to show back up either, though. Same goes to you, I guess. He looks over to Jenna. She responds with a polite smile and nothing more.
What's going on here?
As I hear Clint's voice, I see Micah quickly sit upright, visibly startled.
There they are! Look, I told you! I didn't tell them anything!
Heather is tugging at the weasel's tank top, but Clint quickly smacks her hand away. Clint. Looks like death. Emaciated, disheveled, teeth rotting out of his head, his fur falling out and pink lesions dotting his flesh. Jeremy and Micah look pretty rough, but nowhere near as bad as him. I quickly hand the Finnick his picture back.
We were just leaving.
Jenna pulls her purse tight to her side and stands up.
Thank you for your hospitality, and it was good seeing you again, Jeremy.
I should fucking kill you three right here, you little cunts! Get the fuck out now! Go, go, go! I'm getting my fucking gun, I'm getting it!
Clint stomps off toward the nearby trailer, swearing up a storm.
Oh, shit.
Micah quickly refocuses his attention on the rest of us.
Yeah, get the hell out of here!
I half expect Flint to start shouting back, but instead, as I look over, he's already up. The Gila is making a clicking noise, gesturing with his head towards his truck.
No! Clint, it's okay! I swear!
I quickly get out of my seat and fast walk to catch up with him, and Jenna does the same.
What the hell?
It's all Jenna can say as she shakes her head in disbelief. We hop on Flynn's ride and take off without looking back.
Truly, what the hell?
Jenna repeats herself. She's sitting in the back seat, still peering out the rear window with a boggled expression plastered on her face.
I hear ya. What a fucking mess.
At least now we know they were hiding stuff about Carl. I try to shine at least some optimism in the situation, however faint that it is. We came out here to get information, and we did learn there was information to be had, so it's not a complete wash.
I don't believe for a titty fucking second that Carl's dabbling in crank. Not saying they're responsible, but they do know something.
Honestly, I don't believe they have the wherewithal to plan and successfully carry out something so malicious as a kidnapping.
Flynn lets out a long sigh, keeping the truck steady along the dirt road with one hand while the other rubs his scaled face.
That doesn't help us figure out what the fuck to do next. Where are the goddamn cops? I'm the fucking city clerk. Why am I stuck doing this shit?
There's a silence in the cabin, Jenna turning back around to peer in Flynn's rearview mirror at him.
Because you're his friend, and you care about him.
Flynn seethes at these words.
That's not helping, Jenna.
I pull out my phone, holding my thumb over the display button. Only 50% battery life. I'll have to remember to charge it later. Should I text Leo?
Text him what? That you want him to raw you again?
Flynn lets out a little huff and Jenna gives the lizard a stern look.
What?
I mean about what they just told us.
There ain't no reason to. It's all pussy willow lies.
After a while, he sighs, sounding defeated. Flynn reaches into his pocket, holding up a slightly antiquated-looking phone.
I'll just post in the group chat a quick summary.
Okay.
Then I'll make sure to let them know how sketch they were being.
I nod, despite the fact that no one is currently looking at me. I step outside into the cool air, letting my feet rest on the hard asphalt of the parking lot. Again, it's unusually humid out, especially for spring where we usually get less than an inch of rain a month. Monsoon season isn't set to start for another 90 days or so. I hold out my paws to the sky and let my tongue loll out, tasting the ozone in the air. It's the closest thing I can get to being in water right now. Not counting the shower, of course. I mean actually being surrounded in something vast and wet, like a moist blanket that you can let carry you away. Speaking of moist blankets, TJ has been in the bathroom for like an hour, and I really gotta piss. I step away from the high-pitched buzz of the fluorescent outdoor lighting, heading out toward the bend of the motel and into the wash nearby. It takes me a second for my eyes to adjust to the darkness. The desert at night can look pretty strange, like the absence of the sun sucks all the color out of the world. It makes trying not to fall into a ditch all the more difficult when everything starts blending together. Once I find a good spot hidden away from any of the motel windows, I turn my back to it and get to leak taking. I'm making a concerted effort this time not to piss on myself. If that happens twice in a row, Jenna's gonna start thinking I have a fetish or something. Water sports. Why do they call it water sports anyway? If you're actually into water-based sports, you can't really talk about your hobby without the perverts in the room thinking you like piss. Though, to be fair, there's much worse stuff out there to be into. I remember for the longest time, Flynn had this whole reputation of being into scat. I think it started after someone called him a shit pusher because he was gay, and of course he told them that he was and loved doing it. Then that all got ambiguated in the high school social mill until Flynn was apparently spending his weekends diving into septic tanks. Flynn wasn't remotely pleased when that stigma didn't go away. And of course, I thought it was hilarious. Strangely enough, that never got applied to Leo and I, even with all of our PDA. I guess... There's a crunching noise beside me, dry bramble being tread underfoot and the sudden scuffing of dirt. The noise stops as soon as it starts and I glance over, realizing I'm not alone. What the fuck? I blink. I must have finished pissing a minute ago, but here I am still holding my prick. Micah stares at the aforementioned, before looking back up at me. I quickly shove myself back into my shorts, nearly tripping over myself as I step back away from him. Damn it, where'd he even come from? I was taking a leak!
The fuck you were, Schizo?
His voice is strange, distant. In fact, he looks completely out of it, as if his comprehension of the world around him is delayed.
You were just standing there, staring off into the great dark nothing, cock and paw. Jerking into the void. That how you defeat it?
What are you talking about? Why are you even here? Micah points a half-lidded stare in my direction, his fingers wiggling around the edges of his tank top. He's not so much looking at me as looking right through me.
I'm a bat and it's night. I can be wherever I want.
So you want to be here? The voice echoes so clearly in my mind I can't help but say it out loud. So you want to be here? Fuck no. He sniffs, his answer spoken with a tired, slurred tone.
I mean, I'm here 'cause, like, there's dick all for me out there. Fuck, wait, you're talking about right here? Right now? With you?
I look into his widened pupils and slowly nod.
Shit.
Micah rubs at his face, pinching at his own lightly fuzzed cheeks, his gaze still a million miles away. He's exhausted, or at least appears so now. Like someone on the tail end of a ride on a fierce supper.
You can't put sleep off forever. Shit. I'm only half awake right now. That's the worst way to be. It's like how when you're dreaming, you're flying. When you're having a nightmare, you're falling. It's always falling.
Micah steps back, his heels hanging off the edge of the wash, and I'm sure he's about to tip over into it. Without thinking, I reach out for him, but he seems to lean away from my paw. What the hell am I doing? Don't trust the junkie. I should just get out of here, back to the motel room.
Behold, I was shaped in iniquity.
He extends his tattooed arms and shows off his wingspan. Before I can say anything to respond to the bat's ramblings, he tips backward, like he's expecting someone to catch him. Oh shit! Are you okay? Silence. I start creeping closer to the edge to get a look at him, but a small voice rings out from within. Fucking... Ow! He goes quiet again as dust plumes rise up from the ditch. Finally, another little grunt.
No, where the hell am I? Ah, son of a bitch.
As I peer over the edge, I can tell it's about a good 3 to 4 foot drop. Nothing too dire, but definitely not pleasant. Micah's dazed gaze meets mine and quickly narrows.
Ah, fuck, of course. It wasn't just a dream.
I stare blankly at him, wheels turning in my head for a second. Wait, you were sleepwalking?
That's what you want to call it. Did you just have your prick out?
I ignore the question. Your dream made you do a trust fall into the dirt. I thought you were tweaking out on drugs or something?
If only.
Micah slowly pushes himself up to his feet and climbs out of the wash. His backside is completely caked with dirt and goat head bramble. He tries to pick out the stickers from his fur, wincing at each pluck.
I thought there was water in there for some reason.
He thumbs over his shoulder. There's probably not going to be any in there for another few months.
Yeah, fuck, I'll be gone by then.
Micah shakes his legs a few times, some more dust scattering to the wind. Having white fur like that must suck in the desert here. If you even get the slightest bit dirty, everyone can see. For me, everything just kind of blends into the brown fur. He squints at the building nearby and lets out a little astonished noise.
I made it all the way out to the motel? That doesn't make any goddamn sense. Fucking hellfire, man. Shit's just getting so much worse.
He shakes his head. He's clearly lucid now, but I don't know if he's really talking to me.
You doze off for 1 minute and then everything's an absolute shit show.
A cold chill creeps down along my spine. This is all sounding real familiar.
Pot helps, keeps the bad vibes down, but it's a quick fix for something that you never know when it's coming.
I've been having something similar happen to me, I think. Really bad dreams, mainly. His gaze snaps to me, as if he wasn't expecting me to actually respond to him.
Fucking really? No shit.
The bat extends an arm out to his surroundings, gesticulating at everything and nothing all at once while his wings flap about.
You ain't the only one, muskfuck. You ain't seen how it's been. It's real shit down on Jasmine Street. The hum gets bad there.
The hum? I frown, unnerved by the bat's words, but not really sure I should start questioning them.
You wouldn't know. After all, you're just having a little fun trip and then fucking right off.
Micah says this like it's a bad thing. However, I'm not guilty about wanting to get the hell out of here at the soonest possible convenience. When we find Carl, of course. So, you're gonna leave town too? Micah glances over at me.
Yeah. You should go soon as well.
But he'll be back. But you'll be back. They all come back. We all come back.
What are you on about?
I'm honestly not quite sure myself. The words just sounded right at the time. I shrug. I guess that's just what it feels like to me.
Not everyone does.
His tone shifts more melancholy, the young bat reaching into his pocket and flipping on an old cell phone for a moment. It looks like one of those cheapo ones that you buy the minutes and text messaging for per usage. Burners, I think they're called. After a moment, I realize who he's referring to. I never really, knew Keith. Sorry he went missing. He stops messing with his phone, yellow eyes looking back up to me.
You didn't know him and you're not the reason he disappeared, so stop talking like you're personally involved.
I feel myself starting to get a little frustrated. I don't know why I'm still here. In fact, I don't know why Micah's still here. He's just lingering about, even after he claimed he came this way due to sleepwalking or whatever. What was Keith doing before he went missing? This is the point where I seem to have Micah's full attention. He glances around for a moment before stepping forward, lowering his voice to a quiet rasp.
When he always was doing schizo, trying to fix people. He'd see somebody who'd be utter shit trash and then find their inner spirit or whatever. You know, native shit.
He thinks for a second.
Well, native light. Whatever. Keith was one of those weird kids who read philosophy books in school. He helped all of us, of course, and I thank him to bits for it. Screw-ass didn't know his limits. Started getting chummy with a supplier, this big bear bastard named Brian.
Supplier? Keith dealt drugs?
Bitch, everyone deals and gets dealt in Echo. This ain't a surprise, or shouldn't be. So let me get you off your moral high horse right now.
He squints in thought.
Yeah, now that I think of it. Wasn't your mom the one that let Sven Miserly plow her for Oxy? What?
I can't help but be taken aback by that one.
No! You're saying your mom didn't take Oxy?
No. She had back pain issues and took Percocet, but that's it.
That is Oxy, bitch.
But enough about your whore mom. Fuck you! He huffs. He's so full of shit, just like before at the bonfire. I dip my paws into my pockets and turn to leave. I get a couple of steps toward the motel before I hear the bat rasp from behind me.
Hey, don't be a bitch.
I keep walking. The shower is probably freed up now, and God knows I could use it. If not just for the water, but the time alone.
No, wait, seriously. Stop. Chase.
I hear a frustrated sigh.
Chase, please. I need to talk to you, serious-like.
I turn, and if his sight is any good, he can get a good view of how done with his shit I am from my expression alone.
Keith tried to help this supplier. Turn his life around, all that.
I hesitate. I didn't expect him to start talking about Keith again.
He saw the goodness in him, etc., etc. Before all this, Keith would always take me out after school on Fridays. We'd go flying these RC planes we tinkered with down by the river. I mean, it sounds about as fun as plucking pubes to most folk now, but little me loved it. The moment he started getting close to Brian, that stopped. We saw him less and less until... poof. Keith's gone. No one knows where he went, including Brian. So claimeth he. And I had nothing left here. My anger with the bat begins to fade as he looks me straight in the eye. There's something about the tone of his voice that's different. Like this is actually a matter he'd thought about for a long time. Micah, are you... I exhale, stepping forward and lowering my voice. Are you trying to tell me something? Something about Carl? No, I'm trying to get you to whip your dick out again. The runty bat's nostrils flare as he steps closer. I cover my crotch with my free paw and he rolls his eyes. Do you want help finding the rich fat kid? I hesitate at his hostile phrasing, but begrudgingly nod. Any information at all could help at this point. Yes, I want help finding Carl. Do you know anything that can help us? Cool, and hopefully... He doesn't speak for a time, rolling his cell phone in his paws. Don't report anything I'm about to tell you to the cops. I'm genuinely trying to help you here, but I need you to swear to that. Sure, whatever. I swear I won't tell the cops. I lie. Good. Nothing I did is really illegal, but it can be implicating as all hell if you don't find your friend.
Is this about the meth that you guys said Carl was taking?
No, that was bullshit.
I knew it. Well, Flynn knew it.
Like hellfire, I'm gonna start ratting fuckers out in front of everybody. The Hendricks house was marked. Jeremy tipped Clint off that Carl was staying home alone. Clint then brings me on to scope shit out, just before midnight at 11. I can see well in the dark, and got a good look at their alarm system. That's when I noticed two big, glowing eyes staring back at me. I don't know what happened, but there was a flash, and next thing I know, I'm falling from the second-story ledge into the riprap.
The photo. That was Micah! The flash of Carl's cell phone camera! That has to be it! He took a picture of you before you fell. We found the photo the next day. The bat's lips tighten.
Well, fuck me then. Guess it's good that I'm getting ahead of this.
It barely even looked like you, I think? The picture was all distorted. I try to wave off his concerns with a reassuring tone, reshifting the conversation back to Carl. What happened next? Micah sighs, speaking up again.
Next thing I hear is a whole shit ton of thudding. Like, da-dunk, da-dunk. I couldn't move. I didn't want to start sprinting off while anyone inside was still looking out a window. So I huddled up in a blind spot, and the noise kept going for a solid 30 minutes. Then a fucking hell of a clatter. The sound of wooden boards snapping inside. Next thing I know, the fat ass is taking off into the desert, completely spooked.
Which direction?
South, I think. Anyway.
He holds up his basic-looking cell phone.
I gave Clint a call, told him what happened. He started freaking the fuck out on me, cussing and swearing, spitting up a storm. Kept insisting he needed to call someone. And that's the last I heard of it. Spent the next 12 hours nursing a bruised tailbone in an abandoned trailer off Route 65.
Well, goddamn. Actual answers. This is all really helpful, Micah, but why are you telling me this? Why are you ratting out your friends to someone you hate? The bat groans aloud, a look of exasperation crossing his tired features.
Have you been listening at all? There are fuckers out there I don't trust, and if there's anything to be done about putting a boot to their asses, I'm down. For Keith.
The bat taps at his phone a few times before handing it my way.
Give me your number. I'll keep you updated on what's going on. The supplier guy I mentioned will be coming into town. I'll see if I can get some more info out of him and Clint about the RAM.
I take the phone, slowly using the tiny button-based numpad to put in my number. There's probably a few ways this can come back and bite me in the ass, but at this point I'm pretty damn desperate for a lead. I just never would have expected it would come from Micah, of all people, and willingly at that. And here I thought you hated me.
I don't care enough about you to hate you, schizo.
I hand the bat back his phone, unsure of how to feel about that response. If I don't hear from you by the time we have to go Sunday,
you should get the fuck out of Echo.
His tone is flat, a matter-of-fact statement that he believes doesn't need further explanation. I nod in response, wondering if it's too late to take my number back. Well, if that's all? I glance back to the motel. Micah looks too.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, one more thing.
Oh? I perk a brow in his direction.
You still with that wolf boy? Leo?
I remember him getting skittish about him earlier. He's acting nonchalant, but there's definitely something more to this question than casual curiosity. The answer to the question itself is also a complicated one. Not really? Why do you ask?
Nah, I don't give a shit.
He looks down at his phone as he says this. A lie. Then why'd you ask?
He just... I hear he talks a lot of shit. Was wondering if he ever talks shit about me.
Micah folds his arms over his chest, staring at his phone screen. To be honest, I don't even recall a time he even mentioned you by name. It's the truth. Out of all the Jasmine Street kids, Micah was the one I never really heard Leo talk about.
Figures.
What?
What? I'm out of here. I'll text you in a bit.
The bat turns and heads off. There's something about him that sticks with me, and I can't quite put my finger on it. Once he disappears around the corner of the motel, I take out my phone and tab over to our group chat. And I can give my poor voice a break because we are done for today. Next time we will pick up with Friday of Jenna's Route. And until then, thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate it. See ya!